You've probably heard your teacher say something like this before: expand on your points. As a teacher, I've also told my students this many times. And in response, many of my students have told me over the years things like, I don't know what else to write, I don't know how to expand on my points, or I've already explained my points. So this made me realize that no one really actually shows you how to expand on your points. Today, I'll teach you exactly how to do that using an ABC strategy. And yes, it involves aliens. Hi everyone, I'm teacher Cheryl. Welcome back to Cher's English Tuition. In this channel, we bring you mini lessons for secondary school students. If you want to stay on top of your English game, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss out on any of our lessons. So in this lesson, we will start off by looking at why students struggle with writing. And then we'll look at an ABC strategy to help you expand your points. Of course, we'll also take a look at some O-level exam examples. Plus, I'll give you a bonus practice at the end. Let's start with the first one: why students struggle with writing. Many students write short answers because they don't really know how to develop their ideas. And so they'll say things like, I've already explained my point, or I don't know what else to add. To be honest, even I used to do that as a student. What I tend to do is to condense my ideas too much. And a lot of the times we do that because we assume that the examiner knows what we mean. Take a look at this example written sentence. Recycling is important because it helps the environment. So the sentence is good, but there are a lot of things that we can expand on, because we can talk about what does this sentence actually mean, or how recycling helps the environment. So when we don't expand, we lose a lot of marks for content and elaboration. And how do we fix this? There are many expansion strategies that you can use. Like I mentioned before, we will be using an ABC strategy to help you expand on your points clearly. This strategy can be used for your Paper 1 situational writing. So let's take a look at the situational writing assessment criteria. In order to get band 5, you need to have all the points addressed and developed in detail. This strategy can also be applied to Paper 1 continuous writing. Again, Band 5 of the assessment criteria states that all aspects of the task are fully addressed and developed in detail. Finally, you can also apply this to Paper 4, oral communication. The assessment criteria for Part 1 of oral communication states that you need to have a well-considered response, which is well-developed and organized. And the criteria in Part 2 states that you need to offer well-considered responses with coherent and well-developed perspectives. So you can see that all the exam components that I've mentioned state that your points need to be properly developed. Therefore, in order to do well in our writing and our speaking, we need to ensure that our answers are, well developed. And that's where the ABC strategy comes in. So let's jump right into it. We'll start off with A. A stands for assume that the examiner is an alien. Yes, really, assume that they are an alien. Because what you need to do is to pretend that they know absolutely nothing about your topic. So you're going to imagine that you're explaining your point to an alien who has never been to Earth, so they would not have actually seen or heard about this topic before. That means you need to define all the important terms very clearly. You can ask yourself questions like, what would your reader want to know? Or what do they need to know? Or even, what questions you think that they might ask. Let's take a look at a 2024 O-Level Paper 1 exam question. The question is, we should all value time spent alone. How far do you agree? So a point you may come up with could be something like this. Being alone is good for us, as we can get some time to ourselves. This is a valid point, but of course, we will need to expand and explain this a little bit more. For example, we would need to state what good here means. We could talk about why we need some time to ourselves, and also why should we value this time alone. If you find our lessons helpful, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to share it with your friends as well. We also provide online tuition classes for secondary school students.
So we're going to do a very quick bingo activity, which will also test everyone's ability to see what strategy has been used. Everyone ready? Reisha, do you think this is a strategy or a slip?
I think it's minimal rephrasing.
because this situational point becomes more integrated into workplaces, doesn't answer the question of disadvantages.
In our online classes, we emphasize a lot on giving thorough feedback to our students. We've seen firsthand how this support and attention has helped them achieve such amazing improvements in their English grades. You can read more of what our students have said on our website. If you need any further help, please contact us through our website or on WhatsApp. All these details will be in the description box below. Let's move on to B, which is to break it down for them. So now that we've generated some ideas and thought about what our readers want to know or maybe need to know, we are going to now take our main point and expand on it step by step. Remember, they are aliens and they have no knowledge of the topic at all. Now, to keep things simple, you should basically be explaining why your point makes sense. To give you a very simple example, instead of saying without exercise, people get sick, we can break it down even further by explaining what without exercise means. So this could refer to like a sedentary lifestyle where we go to school, sit at a desk for hours during lessons, then we go home and continue sitting, whether to do homework at a desk or to relax on the sofa watching TV. Basically, this lack of movement means that their body isn't being used actively. Next, we can explain what get sick means, because this doesn't necessarily just mean catching a cold. A lack of exercise can lead to weaker muscles, poor blood circulation, weight gain, and a weaker immune system, making our bodies more vulnerable to chronic illnesses like diabetes or heart disease. So you notice that there's a lot of areas that we can expand on our points. And by breaking it down this way, the explanation becomes clearer and more convincing, which will help your reader fully understand your point. Now, one way to break down your explanation is to use the what, then, so method. Here's how it works. We'll start off by explaining what, which means that we state the condition or the situation. Then we explain what happens. And we move on to so, which is to show the impact or why your point matters. So let's try to apply it to our main point. Remember, the question is, we should all value time spent alone. How far do you agree? Take a look at this example paragraph. I'll read it for you first. Spending time alone can help us reduce stress. If we spend time alone, we can take a break from the stress of school and other people. This can help us feel less tired and more relaxed. For example, a student who is stressed about exams may take time alone to listen to music or rest, which will help them feel better. This shows that alone time is useful because it allows us to calm down and handle stress better. What I want you to do now is to pause this video and try to expand on this paragraph by applying the what, then, so strategy, and then write out your expanded paragraph. Then share your response with us in the comment box below. Okay, so I hope you've already done that. Let's continue. I'm going to give you one example response. We're going to outline our points using the what, then, so. So remember, what means to state the condition or the situation. So one situation that we can come up with is that students today face immense pressure from school, CCAs, social commitments, family commitments. They are constantly stressed and mentally exhausted. Now we'll go on to then, which is to explain what happens. So we could say something like this: without time alone, students are always surrounded by these stresses. So it is difficult for them to relax or think clearly. This prevents them from resetting their minds. Okay, so let's go on to the so, which is to talk about the impact or why this matters. We could say something like, spending time alone allows students to step away from these pressures. They can engage in calming activities, and this will help them to regain a sort of balance in their life and also to reduce stress. So let's put this all together in an example paragraph. Spending time alone helps us manage stress more effectively. In Singapore, students constantly face pressures from school, CCAs, or family responsibilities, leaving us with very little time to unwind. When we set aside time for solitude, we can remove ourselves from these external stresses and have the chance to engage in activities that promote relaxation and mental clarity. For instance, when we feel overwhelmed by multiple deadlines and exams, we could spend time alone listening to music, reading a book, or going for a walk. This can give us a break from our constant worries, so we have space to process our thoughts more calmly. Thus, alone time can give us a mental reset and reduce our anxiety. So you can see in this paragraph, we've actually expanded on it a little bit more by explaining how having alone time will help us because it removes us from all these external stresses. And therefore, it will be easier for us to relax and it will help us to relieve some stress. Okay, so back to the ABC strategy. We've covered A and B. Now we'll go on to C. C is to connect back to the question. For this step, we're going to be checking our paragraph and points again to make sure we have addressed the question and that we have not gone out of point. Let's take a look at our example paragraph again. Basically, our paragraph focuses more on the benefit. So we need to tweak it a little to ensure that we address the question more clearly. In the first line, we could change it to something like, we should appreciate time spent alone because. And another sentence that we can improve on is the last line. We could say something like, we should recognize the importance of alone time. So this will be the final paragraph. You can pause the video and read it on your own now. Okay, so now that you've read the finalized paragraph, it's your turn to try applying this ABC strategy to your writing. These are another 2 questions from the 2024 O-Level Paper 1 exam, and I'll read them out for you.
Describe a special meal you enjoy with friends or family. As well as describing the food, explain where and when you have the meal and why it is important to you. Social media does more harm than good. Do you agree? Why or why not?
So this is your task. You can choose one question to work on, or both if you prefer. Apply the ABC strategy, then write out your final paragraph or paragraphs. Do share your final paragraphs with us in the comment box below. So here's what we've covered in this lesson, the ABC strategy. A is to assume the examiner is an alien. B is to break it down for them. And C is to connect it back to the question. So next time you're stuck with your writing, remember ABC, which will help you to be clearer and more detailed in your response. And remember that you can use this strategy for your essay writing, situational writing, and oral communication responses. That's all for today's lesson. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Most importantly, please leave a comment below if you have any questions about this lesson. And also feel free to send us your video requests as well. See you in the next one. Bye!